Well, hello scrappers, Mike here. Welcome back to my channel. What's going on today? Well, we got a mess up on the bench here. Today we are going to revisit the iodide leech for removing gold plating. I never did quite get that working on camera. I played with it a little more off camera. But we're going to do another 300 grams of Johnny's gold plated pins that he's been sending me here. We're going to do those and try to see if we can actually get all of the gold stripped off of them and come up with a yield on them. All right, so that's step one. That's step one. After we do that, I want to regenerate the leech, get its strength back again, because that's something you can do with the iodide leech. And then we're going to try it on some of Johnny's close-cut fingers over here and see how well it takes the gold off of them, because I have not tried it on close-cut fingers yet. So strap in, because this could be a bit of a bumpy ride, but I think it's going to be an interesting one. So first thing I need to do probably is measure out 300 grams of pins, glove up, and make ourselves some leech and give it a try and see if we can get it working right this time. All right, first off, let's measure out 300 grams of pins. Same amount I did last time. So these are gold-plated pins that I suspect are bronze under the gold plating. They are not magnetic. And they look kind of bronzy after the gold plating is removed. All right, so I got 320 grams, which is a little more than I want. That's 307. 301. That is close enough for my purposes, including the one right there. Okay. Put these in here. All right. So our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to try and leach all the gold off those pins, precipitate it out of the leech solution, regenerate the leech, and then go after at least a few hundred grams of those close-cut fingers. See if we can make this all happen without any kind of catastrophes. Let me change out the battery in the camera because it's saying it's low, and then we'll get started. All right, I'm about ready to start making up the leech. Now, a couple of things. First off, it's a much warmer day than the last time I tried this with gold, okay? It's probably the mid-80s Fahrenheit here, although in the shade of my workshop here, it probably hasn't gotten anywhere near that warm, and the liquids are probably still a little cool, maybe in the 70s Fahrenheit. So there's that, but I'm thinking the warmer weather is going to help. Secondly, there were a lot of comments on the first couple of videos I put out on the leech. I appreciate that. Thank you. A lot of good suggestions, including from Owltech, who initially inspired me to start doing this. So thanks to all those people. One thing I'm going to do, several people suggested just putting a little more iodide in the leech, maybe doubling it. I was going to go with 40 grams of potassium iodide and roughly 10 grams of my homemade crystal iodide. Some people said put in as much as 40 grams of iodide, like 40 and 40. I don't know, but I'm going to double it. I'm going to double it and see what we get. Instead of 10 grams, we're going to go with 20 grams of iodide, but I'm going to keep it at 40 grams of potassium iodide here. So let's see if we can measure out 40 grams of potassium iodide to start with, if I can get this darn lid off. My goodness. That is on there tight. There we go. That just did not want to come off. All right. Come on. Come on. Come on. It's 30. I have more than this if there's not enough here, but I think there's probably enough here. Well, we are coming up just a tad short. Okay, we're about 3 grams short. Let me grab another bottle. Oh, this was much easier to open. All right. 41. 40.16. Close enough. All right. So I'm going to put this into this beaker right here. Now we need to weigh out the iodine. And as usual, I'm going to put a little extra in because my iodine is wet. I never got it fully dried out after making it. And like I said, we're going to go with about 20 grams this time. But actually, I'll put in probably about 22 grams to account for any moisture issues that we have with this stuff. There's 27. That's a bit too much. 24. 21.93. That is close enough. All right. I will wash the rest of the iodine out of there into that. And also get it off of my spatula. So I want to make 400 liters of leech. So basically I just need to top this up to 400 milliliters and stir it up really, really well. 400 milliliters right there. And then we should have our leech solution ready to go. Let me find a stir stick. I'm going to stir the snot out of it. Mix in as much of the iodine as I can. Make sure the iodide is all dissolved with our lovely purple leech liquid. Okay, let me move the camera and we'll be ready to get started, I think. All right, I may have forgot to mention early on that I have a video on how you can make your own crystal iodine if you want to do this. Potassium iodide, easy enough to get. I buy mine off Amazon. It's fairly inexpensive. Crystal iodine, lots of places, including here in the States, hard to get. So I figured out how to make my own. So I'll put a link to that video in the upper right. Check that out if you want to do this. And there are links to everything, all the chemicals and the equipment I used in that video, and there are links to all the chemicals and equipment I used in this video too. So down below in the below the video description, so you can check that out if you'd like to do this too. So I would say this is pretty well stirred up. I imagine all the iodine is not in solution, but probably more than enough of it. Let's figure out what time it is here. It is 2:34 p.m. when the leech goes on the pins. Yeah, there's still some iodine in there, but that's okay. I'll just wash that right down into here. Not a problem. Not a problem. And we will begin agitating this. Agitation is apparently quite important. So I will stir this very well at regular intervals, every minute or two, and we'll see how long it takes to look like it's starting to take the gold off those pins. Hopefully it won't take too long. I'll be back when something happens. All right, let's see what time it is here. Oh, it's only been like 4 minutes, all right? It looks to me like the pins are starting to look a little dull. There's still gold on them, don't get me wrong. There's still gold on them, but they aren't as shiny as they were. They're starting to look dull. The liquid's not as pretty a purple as it was either. I expect it's going to turn muddy brown at some point as it starts absorbing metals into it. Yeah, it's definitely starting to get a little browner. So, all right, we'll just let it go. I'll keep stirring it every minute or two, and be back when it looks like we're getting a significant amount of the gold off. So it's been almost 15 minutes. Let's see. Yeah, almost 15 minutes. The pins are looking really, really dull. The liquid's starting to get a little muddy looking. Let me pour the liquid off, and we'll take a close-up look at the pins. Oh, I can see that they are not done, but they are looking a lot less golden than they started out. All right. Yeah, rinse them down a little bit, and I'll give you a close-up look at those with my phone. And I'll give you a side-by-side comparison with what we started with here, too. So you can see the difference so far. But I don't think it's quite done yet. After I give you the close-up look, I'm going to put the liquid back on for a little while longer. So here's what we started with. Here's what we've got now. There's still some gold on these pins. I can see it in places. But wow, the vast majority of it seems to have been removed after about 15 minutes. So I'm going to put this liquid back on, and we'll let it go a while longer. See if we can get the rest of that gold off those pins. All right, I just poured the liquid back on. I'm going to let it go for a little while longer till it looks like all the gold's gone. What's there looks thin and sparse, so hopefully it won't take too much longer. So we are up to what, 34 minutes, I think, if I did the math right here. The liquid's getting very muddy brown. I do think I still see a little bit of gold here and there on the pins. I think my mistake last time I did this was I just took the stripping solution off too quickly. So we're going to leave it on for a while longer. If the liquid starts turning green, then I'll be worried that it's getting loaded down with copper and tin from the bronze that the pins are made of. But I think the muddy brown is just it getting loaded down with gold. So I'm sure it is picking up some copper and tin, any other metals present in there. But I'm not going to be too hasty. I'm just going to let it go for now and see if we can get the last of that gold off of there. I'd like to be able to calculate a yield. I'd like to have it look like all the gold is gone off of those pins so that when I measure up how much gold we've got in this solution, we can say that there's X amount of gold per 300 grams of Johnny's pins. So that's what I'd like to be able to do. So I want to get all of it off if I can. I think we're probably, at this point, a little better than we were last time. I'm just going to let it go a little while longer. All right, what time is it? It is 3:07. The liquid has gone very muddy light brown. It's starting to look like coffee with way too much creamer in it. The pins are looking a lot more denuded of gold, but every once in a while as I stir it, I'll find one that I still see has some shiny plating on it in some spots. But it's getting a lot rarer, so I think it's actually working. I'm not going to panic just because the color's changing. I'm going to let it go for a little while longer. Now, Altec said it took about 10 minutes for him to do it. I mean, we're getting on close to an hour here, and I don't think it's done yet. But I think I'm putting that down to a difference in the pin composition. Altec's pins look like steel. These are bronze. So that could be, the whole issue right there is different pin composition. Also, these pins might have a thicker layer of plating on them. I'm not sure. But I'm going to let it go a little while longer. Maybe I'll give you a look with the phone as I stir it up and show you what I'm seeing in there. Boy, that is getting muddy looking. Alright, so check this out as I stir it. Yeah, I'm stirring up some light precipitate that's forming on the bottom of the beaker. What that is, I don't know. I would imagine it is some metallic iodide. It's not very soluble. Best guess. Yeah, but those pins, they're starting to look pretty good. I think I'll pour the liquid off again in a little bit and we'll have a look at them and see if they're actually done. Alright, what time is it here? 3:11. So we're not quite an hour in. I'm going to stir this up really well and get that light colored. It's getting so light it's starting to look like mustard. Get that light colored precipitate in suspension and then pour this liquid off. I hope I'm in frame. I'm not certain. Okay, and I'm going to give a little spritz of distilled water on these pins. Try and get the solution off of them, and I'll give you a close-up look at this with the phone. I think I still see a little bit of gold here and there, but man, there is not much. There is not much at all. Let me give you a close-up look. Okay, here we are. Some of them look shiny like there's gold on them, but it's just, I think they're just wet and shiny. I think there's a couple of them over here that still have a little bit of gold on the tip, like the one down there at the end of the stir rod. That one I think has a little bit of gold in the bend, inside bend there. But yeah, I think we've definitely taken a lot more gold off than last time. I see just like traces of gold, not large amounts of it. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Just out of the sake of thoroughness, I'm going to put that liquid on there and I'm going to leave it on there for a solid hour before I pull it off and process it. And we'll look at what the pins look like again. Alright, we are just a few minutes short of an hour here. And the liquid is going sort of a sickly pea soup green. I think that is my indication that it is starting to load up with copper pretty badly. So I'm going to call it here and pour this liquid off and rinse the pins. And we'll take another look at what they look like and see if we still see any gold on them. Let me actually stir it up really well here. Get as much of that precipitate in solution as I can. Oh, that looks pretty darn good, actually. You rinse it a little bit. I'm having trouble finding any obvious gold. Alright, so I'm calling this done. I am calling this done. I'll give you a look with the phone. Then I'm going to rinse this a couple of times and pour the rinse water in there, and we'll move on from there. Yeah, check it out. Check it out. I think we're there. I do not see any obvious gold anywhere. Do I think we got 100% of it? Not necessarily. There's probably a little bit hiding here and there in the nooks and crannies, but I am not seeing any obvious gold. That just took a lot longer than I was led to believe it would take watching other videos, but it does seem to work. Okay, let me give this a couple rinses to make sure we get all the pregnant solution off of these, and then we'll work on precipitating the metals out of this pea green liquid over here. Yeah, that's a pretty dramatic color change from dark purple to pea green, light pea green. I want to get all this precipitate out of here, at least as much of it as I can. I mean, that's going to be some sort of metal compound. Also make sure to wash any gold out of this stuff that I can. Okay. There we are. Yeah, even after a couple of rinses, those really do look stripped now. I would say all the gold is gone. Good. Now we can calculate a believable yield with the gold we get out of this stuff. So I need to precipitate all of the metals in solution here. And to do that, I need to bring the pH way up. I'm going to add some potassium hydroxide to it to do that. I mean, we've already got some precipitation going on, but I know there's stuff still in solution there, so we're going to hit it with some potassium hydroxide flakes here and try and get it all to precipitate out. I want to get the pH up around 12. And we're starting out pretty close to neutral here, so this probably isn't going to take a huge amount of potassium hydroxide. And I expect this liquid to turn, yeah, that color as the metals come out of solution. Let me test it with my pH paper, make sure I don't waste too much potassium hydroxide on this. Yeah, we got quite a brown precipitate, dark brown precipitate coming out of solution. That's all the metals coming out of solution as the pH goes up. So I would say we're probably only around 9 pH-wise. I'm going to put a little more of this stuff in. Make sure we get as much of the metal out of solution as we can. Let's try that again. Yeah, that's probably 11-ish. So a bit more. Probably leave it at that. Give it a good stir. And we'll let all the stuff in there settle out. And I think you'll be interested to see just what happens when all of this stuff settles out of solution. We should have some nice clear liquid on top of it and a layer of metal hydroxides down on the bottom of the beaker. So we'll give it a little while to do that. Let me find a watch glass to cover it up and keep it clean. Yeah, already. Look at that. We got a line of clear liquid there. The metallic hydroxides are dropping out of solution. Measure the pH again. Now that I've got some clear liquid. Oh yeah, we are good and caustic. So we'll just let that drop out of solution, and then we'll catch it on a filter for processing. Wow, look at those metal hydroxides settle out of solution. I'll bet if you hadn't seen me mix it up, I'd have a hard time convincing you that this clear liquid has 20 grams of iodine dissolved in it. Right now, it's in the form of potassium iodide and potassium iodate, which are both transparent in solution, which is why we can't see anything. But later, we'll regenerate the solution and get its stripping power back. But first, I need to get all of these solids out of it. So we're going to capture that with my filtration funnel here. Get all of these solids in here. Get the liquid through first, because that's going to go quick. Then we'll get the solids in, but they'll plug things up real quick. So there we go. Yeah, look at the liquid coming through nice and clean. And you notice, I'm doing this out in the open. I'm not even using my fume hood. You know, other than a slight whiff of iodine or two I got in the beginning when I mixed up the leech, there's nothing so far. We're going to be working with some stinky chemicals later on. And I may continue doing it out here just for clarity. But, yeah, up till now, it's been great. Okay, so the solids are going in and it's slowing down. So I won't make you watch the whole filtration. I'll be back when I've got all the liquid through and all the solids are caught up here. I'll let the pump run for a while to dry them out too. And I'll run some distilled water through to get the remains of the leach agent out of it before we move on to trying to recover the metals from it. All right, I have pulled the liquid off of this. This is fairly dry in here. I've run some distilled water through it to get the remains of the leach out of it. So now it's time to try and find our gold in this mess of mud up here. I'm going to set this aside because this is going to be our leach solution again. I don't want what's going to happen next to go into it. So next, I'm going to run some dilute hydrochloric acid through this stuff, and we're going to dissolve all of the metal hydroxides in this mud, turn them into soluble chlorides. They'll go through, and what will be left behind will be gold and any other precious metals that won't be converted into soluble liquids by mere hydrochloric acid. So let's mix up some dilute hydrochloric acid here. Let's see. Do about a 50-50 mix. So get about 250 milliliters of hydrochloric acid in there. And about 250 milliliters of water. I'm going to put some of this right on it to begin with. Just let it sit there for a bit and marinate. And then I'm going to start the pump up and pull it through. Yeah, it's going to come through green-yellow. Yep. We're going to dissolve all that metal hydroxide in there. And it's going to come through and leave behind just the gold and, well, maybe a little bit of other stuff. If there were any platinum group metals there, we'd leave those behind too. Now, I'm just going to keep topping this up with hydrochloric acid. See the green? See how green that is coming through? So I'm just going to keep topping this up with hydrochloric acid until all this mud Well, most of it, the gold will stay behind, but until most of this mud is gone and the liquid's coming through clear, it can take a little while. So I won't make you watch the whole thing. But already I can feel a lot of that mud, which was about that thick in there, already gone. So working pretty good. But I'll be back when it's done. All right, that went pretty well. After putting the hydrochloric acid through, we got all the nasty stuff down here. We've got sort of a brown-purple mud left up here, which should be our gold, any other precious metals. And we've got our spent, but reconstitutable, I guess that's a word, leaching solution over here. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to clean out this beaker. This is a waste product down here. But it does contain a lot of metals in the form of chlorides. So it's going to go through my waste processing system just to make it safe. But I'm going to clean this flask out, and we will recover the gold that's up here and see if we can get a yield on those 300 grams of pins. Then we'll try reconstituting the leech and see if we can get it to attack some of Johnny's fingers. All right, it's time to see if we can recover the gold from this stuff. Now, I'll give you a look at it. It looks a little odd to me. So if we have strange results, this might be the reason. It's sort of a purple gray instead of a brick red or brown like I'm used to. But I've run a whole lot of muriatic acid through there. Both 50% and the last batch I put through was full strength. And, well, it's still there. So hopefully it's gold. I guess we'll find out. I'll give you a close-up look at it with my phone before we get started. Yeah, that color's a little odd. It's a little purpler than it's coming through on the camera, which leads me to believe it is gold. Purple is the color of gold. But, yeah, it's just a little odd. We'll see what the Aqua Regia does. All right, so let's mix up some Aqua Regia. It's going to be a fairly strong Aqua Regia, and there's going to be a fair amount of it because I'm just going to let it sit on the filter and dissolve the gold in there and slowly drip through. I'm not going to pull it through with the vacuum, at least not initially. So we got about 300 milliliters of hydrochloric acid here. So I want to add probably 70 milliliters or so of nitric acid to that. This is going to be a very strong Aqua Regia. I'm going to have to do a lot of denoxing on this. I hope I don't forget. I'll find out real quick when I try to precipitate the gold that something's wrong if I forget to denox it. So I'm going to pour this directly on the gold up here. And just let it do its thing and drip through. Slowly, under gravity alone. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully we'll start getting a reaction in there. Some bubbling, something, starting to drip through. Coming through a dark yellow, which is kind of the color we want to see, so that's pretty good. I don't really see a lot of bubbling or anything. Oh, I'll tell you what, the color has gone a lot browner. The color has gone a lot browner. Whatever that purple, gray purple stuff was, I'm not seeing it anymore. It's starting to look like gold now. Yeah, it's starting to look like gold. And hopefully it's dissolving. The liquid that's coming through looks like Aqua Regia with gold in it. So here's my plan. I'm going to let this first addition of acid drip through under its own power by gravity. And then I'll put the rest of it on and let it drip through. And what I will probably do is dump the liquid out and run it all through at least one more time to see if we can get all the gold in there dissolved. And then I'll follow that with copious amounts of distilled water. Now we're getting a yellow precipitate coming through. Okay, that's why the liquid is looking so yellow. We're getting yellow precipitate. This is not going at all like the first time I did this or the second time. I'm not sure what's going on. There is bubbling going on in here. So the aqua regia is attacking the gold, but I have no idea what this yellow precipitate is. I'll give you a close-up look. Yeah, there's that yellow precipitate down there. Mustard yellow precipitate. But if we look up here, I hope you can see the bubbles rising. Yeah. The aqua regia is slowly dissolving the gold in there, and it looks more like gold now. That gray purple is gone. Maybe that's what we're seeing down here. I wouldn't be surprised if it's some sort of lead compound. When in doubt, blame lead or tin, one or the other. But yeah, this is actually working. This is actually working. I might have to filter this stuff before I drop the gold. Of course, I'm going to run all this through the filter again a second time, so it might all get caught on the filter, and the second time through it might come through clean. I guess we'll find out. It's maybe not the fastest method to dissolve the gold. I mean, I could have pulled the filter out and put it in a beaker, put it in on the hot plate and heated it up with the aqua regia to get it into solution quicker, but what the heck? You know, if you're not in a hurry, and both my hot plates are in use in the fume hood right now, doing another project, so yeah, this works. It's just a little slow, but that's okay. Like I said, I'm working on another project in the background, actually about 2 or 3. Subscribe to see upcoming videos. I think you'll find them interesting. All right, just waiting for the liquid to come through. Once I get all this in there and it comes through, I will dump this liquid out and run it through again. And we'll probably do a stannous chloride test just to ensure we are actually getting gold in it, but I really don't have much of a doubt. All right, the aqua regia is almost all through once. Let's see if we got any gold in this stuff. I'll bet we do. Oops. I only wanted 1 drop, but I got 3. Okay. Let's zoom in on that. See what we got here. A little stannous chloride on it. Oh yeah. We got gold. No doubt about that. I really had no doubts. People say they don't believe me unless I do a stannous chloride test. Well, there you go. So here's my plan. Once this stuff is done dripping through slowly, I'm going to add a squirt of sulfuric acid to this and dump it back into this beaker it came from and run it through again. So hopefully, if that's a lead compound that I saw in there early on, that will precipitate out and get caught in the filter up here, not come back down through. So that's the plan. So it's going to take a while. This is going to drip a little while longer before it's all through for the first time. Then I'll dump it out and I'll run it all through a second time. You see here. It looks like most of the gold is dissolved. It might all get dissolved the first time through, but I'm definitely putting it through a second time just to make sure and to precipitate out any lead that might have been in there. So that's the plan. So we'll be back, so you don't have to watch this slow dripping. We'll be back when it's all done and I've got all of the pregnant solution down here. I'll also rinse the filter and the frit material with copious distilled water to get all the pregnant solution out of it and down here. And then we'll be able to precipitate the gold. Well, after I denox it. Oh, forgot about that. Yeah, we'll denox it too. All right, I've got a saturated solution of sulfamic acid here. I have run a lot of distilled water through here to get the pregnant solution out of the filter and the frit and all. But I'm going to run this through there too, just in case there's any debris in here. I'll catch it on the filter, and we'll keep the gold nice and clean. Oh yeah. Yeah, we're definitely getting a reaction in there. I knew we would. I used a lot of excess nitric acid to make this aqua regis, so I knew we would have to denox it. Okay. And if it looks like the last to go through is still causing a reaction, I'll mix up some more and run it through. And make sure this is good and denoxed before we try to drop the gold. But it looks like the reaction is slowing down. Okay. But I'll get the rest of it through and then transfer it to a beaker so we can drop the gold in the fume hood. Alrighty. So the liquid's slightly green after all that dilution and denoxing. So I guess we didn't get rid of all of the base metals with all of that hydrochloric acid I ran through the filter. But we'll see what we get here. So in goes some Stump Out by Bonide containing sodium metabisulfite. Now for some reason, when I'm using the iodine leech, I get this funky colored stuff when I add the SMB to it. But then after a little while it turns brown and the gold precipitates as per normal. I don't know what this funky color is. I don't know why it seems to be particular to the iodine leech. But as you can see, it's going brown. Got stuff settling out. So yes, we've got a gold drop. It's just funny colored to begin with. I don't get it. Something about the iodine leech. Yeah, look at the color. It looks like a normal gold drop now. Just starts out kind of yellowish. Very weird. All right, we'll let that settle. See what we get out of it. In the meantime, let's measure out some fingers and see if we can revitalize the leech and see if it'll take the gold off the fingers. All right, well, we're waiting for the gold to settle in the fume hood. Let's see if we can revitalize the leech and see what it'll do for about 300 grams of close-cut fingers. Let's see, that's about 158, 219. Let's see here. Close to 72, 294, 304. 300 on the money. Well, 299. Close enough. All right. Let me get the leech solution, which has been sitting aside for a while, and we'll see if we can revitalize it. All right, let's see if we can regenerate this leech liquid. Yeah. So to get all of the metals to precipitate out of it, I had to raise the pH quite a bit, up around 12. So I'm going to have to lower the pH on this, and I might have to add a little bit of hydrogen peroxide to it as well. We'll see what happens when I try lowering the pH. So right now we are way the heck up there, somewhere above 12 on pH here. So I've got some formic acid. I'll put a little bit of this in. Do it a little bit at a time. You get a stir stick, stir that up. Let's try again here. Now that is actually, that little bit of formic acid brought the pH down to about 5. So let's try a little something. I'm not sure I want to make it too acidic. I think that might give us trouble. So I'm going to try adding a little bit of hydrogen peroxide to it and see if that brings the iodine back. Oh yeah, look at that. That's bringing the iodine back. We're getting our purple liquid back. That's what we want, is the purple liquid. That tells us there's free iodine in there. Yeah, put a little more in. Make sure we got plenty of free iodine. Yeah, the liquid's darkening up. Oh yeah, that's starting to look like what we started with. Check the pH again. Of course, now we got a lot of free iodine in there. Still slightly on the acidic side. As long as it's acidic, the iodine should keep coming out of solution. I want to make sure we've got plenty of free iodine in there. Put 20 grams in originally. All right. Yeah, it's pretty opaque now. Yeah, it's looking like what we started with. Okay, so I'm gonna put this on the fingers, and we'll see what happens. The pH is a little lower than what we started with, but not so low that I think we're going to have a bad reaction from it. We'll put this on the fingers. Give them a good stir. See if the gold disappears. I will stir them periodically. Let's see what time it is here. It is 2:10. Yeah, it's the next day. So it's 2:10 in the afternoon next day. So we'll see how long it takes for this revitalized leech to remove the gold. All right, let's see what time it is here. 2:19. So it's been 9 minutes. Tell you what, the gold on the fingers is looking a little dull. I mean, it's still there, but it's looking a little dull. It's no longer shiny. The liquid's looking a little bit muddy too. So I guess it's working. Kind of taking the same route as it did with the pins. First they get dull and the liquid starts getting muddy. Then I assume the gold's going to start disappearing and the liquid's going to get really muddy. So check it again in a little while and keep agitating it while I'm waiting. All right, what time is it here? It is 2:29, so not quite 20 minutes. Let me pull one of these out and show you what I'm seeing here. Almost all the gold is gone from that. Whatever the underlying metal is there. There's a few spots of gold on it. This one here, yeah, same thing. The gold is almost gone. I don't know if that's happening to all of them, but ones I pulled out at the top and washed the iodine off of. Wash the iodine off of a few more of them here. Yeah, the gold looks like it's almost completely gone for most of them. Boy, that was quick. But I'll bet the plating was thin on this stuff. Yeah, I'll bet the plating was thin on this stuff compared to the pins we did yesterday. I'll just bet you. I'm going to let this go a little while longer because I did still see some gold on them. And, give it another 5 or 10 minutes. Make sure that it looks like all the gold's gone. I'll probably do is just dump the liquid off and we'll have a close-up look at what's in the beaker and see if it needs to have the liquid on it for a little while longer. But this is going very, very fast compared to yesterday. Leads me to believe that gold plating is thin. Okay, let's see what time it is. It's 2:37. So, let's pour the liquid off of this and get a good look at what's going on in this beaker. You can already tell I don't see a lot of gold left on those fingers. You rinse them a little bit. Yeah, whatever is plated on over the copper, maybe it's nickel, I'm not sure. Some of them are very shiny silvery, possibly nickel. I do see gold in a couple of them. Yeah. Let me give you a close-up look at that with my phone and show you what I'm seeing. Alright, so there's one down here that still has some gold on it. That one there still got a little bit of gold on it. This one here, that's just all silvery. This one here just looks like bare copper. There's a lot of them that just look like bare copper. There might be a trace of gold on that one and on that one there. I see gold. Where did it go? Where the solder mask covers the tops of the fingers, but that happens no matter how you're trying to remove the gold, really. So there's still a little bit of gold in here. I think I'm going to put the liquid back on it for another 5 or 10 minutes and see how they look then. Alright, so the liquid's going back on for a little while longer. It's a little bit muddy, but not anything like it was with the pins. I think it was picking up a lot of tin and copper from the pins. I think whatever's plated under a lot of these things, maybe nickel, is a little more resistant to the leech. But there are a lot of bare copper fingers in there, so it's got to be picking up some copper too. Anyway, I'm going to let this go for maybe another 10 minutes. Let me see what the time is now, and then probably call it, because it looks like the vast majority of the gold in there is gone. So it's 2:40. So at 2:50, I think we'll call it and see what we got. Well, everything seemed to be going so well, but I'll tell you what, this is the gold that just precipitated. And it no longer looks like a normal gold drop. Whatever's on the bottom of the beaker is gray. instead of black or dark brown like it ought to be. And the liquid has gone a funny color. So I don't know what in the world we've got there. I'm going to give this a stir. Keep that agitated. Let me do a quick stannous chloride test on this stuff. Alright, so let's see if the gold is still in solution or if it came out of solution and it's that gray stuff on the bottom. And the liquid's pretty colorless. Okay, that is brown. That is not black or purple. I get that when I use an excessive amount of SMB. Yeah, and it's very sulfury smelling. Yeah, so that's the problem. That's just excess SMB. That is not gold. Gold is black or purple. So I guess the gold's on the bottom. It's just looking funny. It's looking gray instead of black or dark brown. I'm going to let this settle a little more, and then maybe I'll redissolve it in aqua regia again and reprecipitate it and see what it looks like. But it is not looking normal. Oh yeah, I could smell the sulfur dioxide coming off of that. I used a bit too much SMB, I think. Back into the fume hood with it. We'll deal with that some more later. I'm in the middle of dealing with this right now, and I don't want to get too distracted by anything else. That is very suspicious, though. It's nothing like what I saw the other couple of times I've done this. Very weird. Of course, I left the liquid on the pins a lot longer until I didn't see any more gold on them. So it may have loaded down with a lot of base metals. If I'd stopped sooner, like I'd done in the past, maybe we wouldn't have this problem, but maybe we wouldn't get all the gold either. Maybe it's just colloidal gold I'm seeing. I don't know. It's weird. I'm still trying to figure out this whole iodine leech thing. Anyway, we got about 5 more minutes to go on this, and then I'll pour it off. All right, time's up. So this has been, had the liquid on it for 40 minutes. And it was looking pretty good the last time I poured it off. So let's see what it looks like in here this time. And the liquid's definitely a little bit muddy, but not too bad. All right, let me give these a few rinses. Get the pregnant solution out of here. Oh yeah, look at this. Even the copper's gone off of that one. Not only is the gold gone, the copper's gone. So I would say this has definitely been in here long enough. Yeah. I don't really see any gold right now. Heck with it. We'll give it a real rinse. There we go. Get all this pregnant solution off of it. I see some little flakes of gold coming off. I don't know where they're coming from. They didn't dissolve. They're just in the liquid coming over. Huh. They're tiny. Yeah, but I don't see any gold. I think we got it a little bit under the solder mask. That's it. But yeah, like I said before, any method will leave it under the solder mask. Yeah, I don't know if that's gold or yellow paint. I think it's yellow paint on top of the solder mask. I think we're good. Okay. Looks like we got the gold. Now I got to get it back again. Hopefully, it won't give me trouble like the other stuff is doing. Let me get the sodium hydroxide. We'll raise the pH on this and see what precipitates out. All right, in we go with some potassium hydroxide, just like last time. Bring the pH up again. Boy, that's taking a lot of potassium hydroxide. Ah, now something's happening. Okay, there we go. Yep, there we are. It's all muddy brown. Okay, let me measure the pH on that, see where we are. I don't know if I want to add any more potassium hydroxide or not. I want to be up around 12 on the pH. And I would say we are probably a little shy of that, so a little bit more. Not much, just a little bit more. Something's definitely precipitating out of solution, that's for sure. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. That's at least 12. So we will let that settle like before. Yeah, it's already getting a clear layer at the top there. So that stuff's settling out. Well, that's great. All right, so we'll let it settle. Repeat what we did last time. I suspect there's a lot less base metals in here. It was on the material for not as long, and there's basically not as much base metal in there as there was in those pins. We may get a much cleaner gold drop out of this stuff. Oh yeah, look at it settle already. That's cool. I don't even have to make a time lapse. This is happening in real time. It's just settling right down there. Look at that. Yep. I'm thinking this time a lot of that's going to be gold. At least I hope so. All right, we'll let that settle, and I will get set up to separate that out again. Well, would you look at this? In just a few minutes it's taken me to clear some stuff off the bench and get my filtration setup out. That has gone down considerably. Okay, so I know some little bits of finger came over too as I was pouring it off. So there's going to be some bits of finger in here as well as all that brown metal hydroxide stuff. So we're going to filter it all off here. Ah, that's interesting. There was a little bit of liquid left at the bottom of this. It had the unregenerated leech solution in it. And as soon as some of this stuff hit it, it turned purple. I'll bet there's still some peroxide in here. Plus, there's a big change in pH. I know that. So, cool. Making a mess. So I need to get all this liquid through, and then get the solids in there and pull as much liquid off the solids as I can, just like last time. Run some water through it, some distilled water to get the leach out of the solids, and then hit it with some hydrochloric acid to dissolve any metal hydroxides that aren't cold. We'll see if it works better this time. So first I got to get it all in there. You don't have to watch it a second time. Alright, I got everything into here. I've just got to pull the liquid off of it, run some rinse water through it, then I'll be ready to hit it with the hydrochloric acid. Here's a few pieces of finger that went over into this, but not too bad. This certainly looks like a more manageable amount of material in here than last time. I think there was a whole lot of base metal, hydroxides, maybe oxides, and who knows what else last time with the pins. But this, at least at this point, looks better. Let's see if it really is. Or if it's going to give me trouble too. We'll find out. Anyway, yeah. So we'll just wait for this to dry out the mud. I'll put some rinse water through and then mix up some 50-50 hydrochloric acid and start cleaning it up. Alright, there's the mud that's left in here. After pulling the leach liquid off of it and running a lot of distilled water over it, there's the spent leach. Now, we are getting this diluted. We're up to almost a liter here. We started out with 400 milliliters, if you remember. So every time I run water through here to get the leach out of it, we dilute this some. Also, you know, I diluted it every time I rinsed this a little bit, so, and the pins. So the leach should still be good, but the 20 grams of iodine I put in is getting pretty diluted. Now it's still in here. It's going to be in the form of potassium iodide and potassium iodate. I could get it back by lowering the pH and putting some hydrogen peroxide again, but still there's a lot more liquid now than there was when I started with, and that iodine will be a lot diluted. So I'll save this leach for reuse in the future, but I'll probably add some more iodine to it just to keep its strength up, especially if I go back to the pins. The pins seem to need a fairly strong solution. Alright, let me mix up some 50-50 hydrochloric acid, swap out my receiver flasks, and we'll start cleaning this mud up. Alright, so once again, I'll mix up a 50-50 batch of muriatic acid and water. There's a lot less mud in there, so this time I'm not going to mix up quite so much. More than is needed. We'll see. Right, so I've got the clean receiving flask down here. Let's see what happens. Again, I will let this stuff go through by gravity alone, which might take a good chunk of the afternoon here. But that's okay. Starting to come through. Got a little color to it. So I assume it's bringing down base metals. Get all this stuff through, and we'll see what's left in the filter up here. Hopefully, it'll be good looking gold this time. Alright, we're only part way getting through the dilute hydrochloric acid through this stuff. It's taken a while. You can see a drip or two at a time. But I wanted to show you something. And I don't even know if it's going to show up too well on the video, but this flask down here has faint purple cloud inside it. That's iodine. So I guess, in spite of all the rinsing I did to try and get the leach solution out of this mud up here, I didn't get it all out. So we got some leach solution coming through with the hydrochloric acid, reacting with it, and we got some free iodine in here. That's probably the reason for this color too, this funky color. I was expecting something green, not something brown. So, well, oh well. I got a lot more hydrochloric acid to go, so I assume we'll get it all out eventually. And then maybe it'll start coming through green, or maybe it'll just stay brown. Who knows? This is uncharted territory pretty much for me. I mean, I have done this a couple times before, but it seems like every time I do it, it's a little bit different. It's starting to make me want to revert back to my old ways. But we're going to see this through to the end and see what we get. So I'll be back once all this stuff has gone through, and we'll see what's in the filter. I mean, it's already starting to look like gold in there, like black dust in the filter. We've already dissolved a lot of that brown crud. But I'm going to take it to the end. All right, I got all the dilute hydrochloric acid through. I have to say, this looks a whole lot nicer than last time. That just looks like gold. It doesn't look gray purple. It just looks like gold. So, okay. One thing I am a little worried about, though, is we had a purple cloud in here, which tells me that we had free iodine. Now, I know that free chlorine will cause gold to dissolve in hydrochloric acids. Does free iodine do the same thing? They're both halogens. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. I need to dump this liquid out of here anyway to make way for the aqua regia to dissolve the gold. We'll test this stuff with stannous chloride and see if there's any gold in it. Okay, here's the liquid I just decanted out of this beaker. Let's get a little of it on the spot plate. Well, the color is suggestive, but that doesn't really mean we have gold in it. So let's have a look. Okay. Okay. There's a tiny bit of gold in there. I'll give you a close-up look with my phone. It's very slightly purple. Not very, just very slightly purple. So there's just a trace of gold in there. I'll probably end up putting this liquid in Johnny's stock pot so we don't lose any of the gold. I mean, it's his gold. It should go in his stock pot. But I'll give you a quick close-up look at that. It's very slightly purple, and it's fading fast. It's fading. I think the particles of gold are agglomerating and sinking, making it more gray-black. But, yeah, there's a little bit of gold there. Not too much, though. But we won't let it go to waste. Well, here we go again. Time to make the aqua regia. It's like time to make the donuts over and over again. Some of you are probably too young to remember that commercial. I think I'm going to use the graduations on the side of the beaker this time rather than getting my small beaker out. That should be some pretty potent aqua regia right there. Okay. Hopefully, this is just gold in here. That would be nice. So, as per usual, I'm going to let this aqua regia go through by gravity alone. I'll run it through a second time, too. Just make sure, dissolve all the gold out of there. Don't want to leave any behind in the filter or in the frit. We want it to all go through. Looks like anything that won't dissolve with the aqua regia going through twice isn't gold. Okay, it's going to take a while, just like before. Alright, well, we're waiting for the aqua regia to drip through and dissolve the gold over here, and so far it's looking really good. No strange precipitates down here like last time. Cautiously optimistic we're doing better. Okay? Stuff in the filter looked better and it's behaving normally. Okay. While we're waiting on that, let's have a look at this stuff. This is what we just precipitated earlier. There's some sort of gray sludge at the bottom. It doesn't look like gold, but there was gold in this solution. I put SMB on it. Now there's not gold in the solution, and there's a gray sludge on the bottom. I don't know. I think what I probably need to do is siphon this liquid off because that sludge on the bottom looks very fine and fluffy. And if I pour the liquid off, it'll probably just get all suspended in the liquid column again. So I'll probably just siphon it off. And then we'll have a look at it. See if we can figure out what in the wide world of sports is going on here and where is our gold. All right, I'll be back when that's siphoned. So here's what we got after siphoning the bulk of the liquid off. It is a fine gray powder. And it's not just on top of the gold. It's a fine gray powder all the way to the bottom of the beaker. So I'm thinking that fine gray powder has to be our gold somehow. Somehow, some way. I am not certain what's going on here. I don't know. Let me think about it. Think where to go next with this. Alright, I've got an idea for dealing with this stuff. I've got some aqua regia left over that I haven't put through here yet. This is still the first time through. It's going slow, but I'll tell you what, every trace of gold has disappeared out of that filter already. First time through. I may run it through again, like I said, but I don't think I need any more of this. I think that's enough. So what I'm proposing to do is use this on this. See if we can get this back into solution. We'll test it, see if there's any gold in it. There should be. The gold should be in there somewhere. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's an interesting color change. Oh yeah, look at that. We're getting a reaction. Oh yeah, we are getting quite the reaction. So we'll get that gold back in solution, because the gold's in there somewhere. Maybe we'll try a different precipitating agent. Some iron sulfate possibly. And see if we can get the gold to precipitate out cleanly. At least more cleanly than that. Although from the reaction I'm getting here, I would suspect that that gray stuff was the gold somehow. That's all frothy and bubbly in there, and it went from gray to black awful quick. Oh yeah. Everything's cold too. That tells me it is gold, because gold will dissolve in aqua regia at room temperature. Okay, let me get this back in solution, and then we'll try precipitating it with something else. Alright, so it's been a little while. A couple of updates here. First off, the aqua regia has been through this twice, and a lot of rinse water has gone through afterward. There is nothing left in there but bits of, I guess, paint and solder mask. And this looks like some really good aqua regia. Of course, it looked pretty good last time too, so we'll see what happens. I still need to denox this. Now, speaking of aqua regia, if we come over here, this stuff's turned green again. But I'll tell you what, every single thing has dissolved back into the aqua regia. I'm not surprised about that though, because all this stuff precipitated out of aqua regia. So, shouldn't be surprised that it went back into solution in aqua regia. I need to denox this. I need to denox both of these solutions. This one, I'm going to do with SMB again, just to see what happens. See if it goes that funny color. This one, we're going to use iron sulfate. See what happens. So let me get them denoxed. This video is getting really, really long because of all these unexpected issues. So I'll get them denoxed, we'll get them in the fume hood, and we'll drop the gold two different ways. and see what happens. Okay, these have both been denoxed, and once again, the stuff from the pins went very green upon denoxing. The stuff from the fingers stayed yellow. Okay. I need to get these into the fume hood and drop the gold. So that's what we're going to do next. All right, it's time to try and drop the gold here. I'm going to use iron sulfate this time on this liquid. This is the stuff that came off the pins that I really didn't like the look of the last gold drop using SMB. Now, I said I was going to use SMB on this, but we'll see how this goes. If this goes without any trouble using iron sulfate, then maybe I'll use it over here too. Okay? So I have a big flask of iron sulfate mixed up. Let's put a little bit in here and see what happens. Oh, look at that. I'm not sure about the color, but we're certainly getting a gold drop. I'll put a little bit more in just to make sure. Yeah, I'm not sure about the color. Every time I do a gold drop from stuff recovered from, or recovered using the iodine leech method, I wind up with a weird colored gold drop. I guess while I've got this stuff out, I might as well try it over here and see what we get. Yeah, that is a very, very, very odd color. I'm not surprised it went green. Put a little bit more in. Oh, that's okay. That's a little better. Look how dark that went. See how dark that is? That looks more like a regular gold drop. Okay, I'm a little happier with that. That went good. Everything about the fingers and the iodine leech went nice. Everything about the pins in the iodine leech went sideways. I suspect it has to do with the composition of the pins. I'm looking at the bottom of the beaker. I'm not seeing gold on the bottom of the beaker. Once again, we've got this weird colored stuff here. I'm going to put a bit more of this in. See if anything at all happens other than it going coffee with too much creamer in it brown. That's what we're getting. So there's some issues with this iodine leech. I'm not ready to say it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Some people do. See about this. I can't really tell if there's gold settling out yet or not. I guess we'll just let them sit for a while and see what settles to the bottom of those two beakers. Hey, I've got all day. And it'll just be a few seconds for you. We'll just let them sit and see what happens. All right, so I've let these two settle for a couple of hours. And I don't know what to make of this stuff right here, the stuff from the pins. I mean, it looks like a layer of brown gold on the bottom, but we saw the color that turned when I put the iron sulfate on it. Where did that color go? I don't know. Maybe it's mixed up with whatever the gold is down there. I don't know. This one behaved pretty much normally. We got a pretty normal looking gold drop. Got a layer of gold on the bottom. All right. I'm happy with that. Clearly, I still have more work to do with the pins. What that stuff was, I don't know. My original idea was maybe copper iodide because it's the right color for it. But I don't know how copper iodide would be following the gold through all this. It just doesn't make sense. But there's definitely some kind of contaminant in this. I'm thinking I just left the stuff on the pins for too long. Yeah. I mean, got all the gold off the pins for sure. But I think I just left it on there too long. Maybe 2 shorter treatments with the leech to get the gold off without dissolving so much of the base metal. Might have been a good idea. But the fingers, well, they looking pretty darn good, actually. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to siphon the liquid off of both of these, and we'll take a look at what's on the bottom of the beakers and see what it looks like, and then decide where to go from there. I think with this, we can just treat it like normal gold. With this, I'm not so sure. I'm really not so sure, but we'll see what's in the bottom of the beakers. All right, now that I have siphoned the liquid off, you can see there's quite a contrast between these two. This one over here, that's very light colored down there. I mean, it's got some dark stuff. Focus. But that is very light colored. I don't know what that is. This one over here, though, this just looks like gold that's been dropped out of solution. Now, the really crazy part is, the exact same liquid was used for both of these. Did this one first, regenerated, did this one. Very crazy. Very crazy. So I was hoping to be able to get a yield on the pins this time around, but I wouldn't trust this. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. This over here, the gold from the fingers, though, this looks really good. I think I can give my usual cleanup boils on this and add it to Johnny's gold. This stuff I'm not sure I trust. I'm definitely going to have to do some more work on the pins in the iodine leech to remove the gold. See if I can get that reliable. And if I'm going to get a yield on the pins that I can believe, I think I'm going to have to go with another tried and true method and probably just dissolve away all the base metals and then dissolve the gold and see what we get. So I may do that in the next video. We'll see. Let me get this gold cleaned up, see what I can make of it. Decide what I'm going to do with this. I don't know. Alright, the gold from the fingers is in the fume hood getting its cleanup boils, and it's behaving like gold. I've got this stuff in a smaller beaker. I was thinking about doing the same because there's clearly some gold there. And I don't know, this lighter stuff might be a gold compound too. I don't know. I don't know what to do with it though. I don't think I want to add it to Johnny's growing accumulation of gold powder for later refining, because this stuff is following us through. I had another idea, which is just capture this on a filter and throw it in with his rags and filters. And then when I process them, maybe incineration, when I incinerate those rags and filters, maybe that will help us break down whatever this stuff is and separate it from the gold. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to run this through a filter, gravity filter it, and catch all this stuff on a filter, put it with his rags and filters, and kick the can down the road to another day when I do his rags and filters. But at least we'll be able to, I think, process the gold from the fingers today. It's behaving more or less normally. So here's the whatever it is I got out of those pins caught on this filter. I will just throw this filter in with Johnny's rags and filter bucket, and we'll process that someday. I mean, there is gold there, but there's a lot of something else too, and it keeps following us through the process. So not quite sure what to do with it other than kick the can down the road. Alright, I didn't do it on camera because this video is getting really long, but I melted down some of those now stripped pins and made a little bead, and sure enough, it is bronze. That is definitely the color of bronze. It acted like bronze when it melted. So yeah, that's definitely bronze. But there's something in this bronze that's really screwing with the iodine leech. I don't know if it's just a high tin content or some other additive, but there's something screwing up the iodine leech on those pins. Very strange. Couldn't have gone much better on the fingers, but on the pins it keeps giving me trouble. Alright, well, let's see how much gold we got out of those fingers. What was it, 300 grams of fingers I started with? It looks like a fairly decent amount of gold for only 300 grams of starting material. Let's see what we've got here. almost 2 grams. That's not too shabby for 300 grams of fingers. I like it. So the iodine leech clearly has potential, but it also clearly has some problems. It certainly has a problem with Johnny's pins, but it doesn't have a problem with Johnny's fingers. So I'm going to have to work on the pins again. Let me mess with that maybe off camera and see if I can get the iodine leech working better with that. When I do, I'll make another video of it. In the meantime, I really want to know what the yield on those pins is, because so far I have not got a batch through to completion, so I can calculate a yield. So I think in the next video I'm going to attack those pins with a more quote-unquote conventional method. Probably poor man's nitric acid, and dissolve away all of the base metals and then capture the gold plating as a foil. So watch for that video. Subscribe so you can see it and all the other videos I've got coming out in the future. If you found this video at all interesting, educational, informative, inspirational, whatever, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment. Let me know what you think I did wrong with the pins. I'd be interested. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks a lot for watching this one. Bye.